Alrighty. So let's bring up DS Core. So this is the main page for DS Core. I assume some of you that are on here have already been playing with DS Core a little bit, or you've watched some of the videos that were on the sheet that Letty had passed out. I'm just going to go through a quick overview, and then Brett's going to go through a workflow with just kind of submitting for implants and such, and then we will go from there with some more questions. So this is your basic home page. This is kind of the area that you have to worry about as a user. A lot of the other back-end stuff is taken care of by Letty and the other administrators on the team. So here's where your patients are and your orders and your shares, and you guys aren't doing shares, but your tasks and such. So if we start at the patients area, we can search a patient if we want to up here. So just type in the first name, and that patient will pop up for you. We can click on the patient from there if we want. If we need to add a new patient, we would just go to here for add new patient, put in the patient information, first name, last name, birthday, and all the other things that are necessary. And then if you're assigning a dentist, that'll be in this little drop-down list. So if the dentist that's in your office is not on this list, then talk to Letty or one of the other administrators, and they can add them as a user onto the account for you there. All right, so once we're in this, we will go to a patient file. I'm going to go back to a different one actually. Go into our patient file here, and then if we have a scan that's already done, we could go in here. If we needed to start a new scan, this is kind of the efficient way to do it, is once you get into the patient, you can start the DI scan from right here, and then what will happen is on the Prime Scan AC that you're on, whatever software that you have available will be accessed right here. So in this case, let's say it's Connect 5.2.10, because if you don't have CEREC, you wouldn't have these other CEREC softwares. You would just have the Connect, and then you would just hit Start Scan, and that would start the scan from this, so that way you have all the patient information already input in there for you. So that would be probably the most efficient way. Once the scan's completed, we would click on the scan right here, and then we can go to Order, and that's going to take us to the spot where we can do whatever we want to do with it. So depending on what we did the scan for, whether it be a night guard or a restoration, or maybe we did it for a partial, we would choose our modality right here of what we're going to do. For this one, let's just say we're going to do a restoration, and we hit continue. And let's say we're going to do a couple crowns, so we choose crown right here, and we would just do the two that are right there. All right, 14 and 15. If I wanted to choose anything over here, I could do that. I could go down here even and choose my Vita shade if I wanted to. And then right here's where I can start putting comments. So maybe I want to put in there, please make zirconia if we want to. Or whatever else you want the lab to know about this case, we can put in this little area right here. So I'm going to hit continue. And since you use your Prime Scan AC, that's already input in here, so your media is there. If I had any other media that I wanted to, maybe we had an intraoral scanner or any other kind of pictures or anything we wanted to do, we can select the media here, and we can either select it from the media library that already exists, or we can upload it from the computer. Meaning if we wanted to, we can drag and drop that file right here and just kind of put it in like that, or we can go to select, and if we went to select, let's say we went in the desktop, we could just choose any file type that we wanted to, and then just open there if we want to. If we don't want to make a mistake, we can just take that off like that. So again, we have the opportunity to enter more information there if we want to. We can hit continue, and pretty much that's it. We just would choose the lab we're going to do. So in this case, we're going to choose the demo lab from DS. We're going to choose the date we want it to be returned. And as long as everything looks good, and it does, we would just place our order. So once we place that order, everything's showing here. What's nice is that the messages that you had done on this are right here. So you can see we put that. We can add another message if we want to it. We could still add media files later on if we want to. So if maybe I forgot that I wanted to full occlusion, let's just say. And I can add that as a message there as well, and it would add that on there. So the messages, the media files, all those details show there, and that's all right here under the orders. And if I go back out, these are all the orders that are kind of showing right now. So this is requested. If I didn't want that one, maybe I made a mistake, I could go here and I could just, oops, I can go back into that one, And up here in the upper right, I can cancel that order if I don't want it. So that way it would actually cancel the order and it wouldn't be going to the lab any longer. So those are the options that we have. If we wanted to kind of cycle through here for this, we could kind of go by different statuses. So maybe ones that have been completed, I can choose that. There's none that are showing. Ones that are, you know, in review, if they've been accepted or requested, that'll all just kind of show there. And if I turn those all off, then all of them will show. On the collaboration, you guys won't really be using that. For the treatments, this is where everything that you've done will show up. So again, we can kind of look through the different types. If I knew that, you know, if I wanted to take all types off, but maybe it was a splint case, then I can look at that. Or if it's just a restoration itself, all the restorations will show up. But it all breaks it down per that right there. Or you can search by creation date as well. If you wanted, if you knew it was for a different month, day, and time, you can filter that and then apply the filter, and then that would break it down as well. Your files that aren't automatically connected to a patient are going to live here. So if you're ever missing a file from a patient case, I would look in here to make sure that and see if it's in there. Like let's just see, and let's choose this one. If I go to assign, and I kind of start typing in the name, nothing is really creating or kind of popping up on me. So I'm going to hit create new patient here. And what's nice is all of this information is going to be already pre-done in here. We just have to assign the dentist, and then we're going to create the patient and assign that file to that patient. If we had one that was already a patient in there, I can go back here to assign, and you can kind of see that that patient is showing up right there. So we would just choose that and we would assign this to that patient, if that makes sense. Your equipment, this is where your equipment is showing if it's active or if it's online. So if we had the Prime Scan AC, that one's showing offline because I don't have it turned on and currently connected right now. But if I needed to, and I wanted to make sure that I had the most newest CAD/CAM connector that connect that equipment to my DS Core account, I would go here to the View Guide. And this is where that DI CAD/CAM connector is. And it's just going to download the newest connector for us. So we would go in there and just start downloading it. And that is going to allow us to download the newest CAD/CAM connector that's available. So I'm going to cancel this one because I've already got it. But once that was installed, we'd be good to go. And where does that live on the screen? So I'm going to go back to the home screen. At the bottom of your Prime Scan AC right here, this little arrow thing, this is where the actual connector lives. And that is right there, that little hourglass thing. It says DI CAD/CAM connector. If I click on that, if I'm ever having problems with DS Core, this is where I would go to make sure and see if I'm logged in correctly. I may need to log in or log in and log out if I want to, but if it ever says, you know, log in here, that means you haven't logged in. Right now I'm currently logged in as my DS Core account, but then you have to just make sure this is good to go. This also tells you what types of apps are installed on your computer as well, and your compatibility for your graphics card. But that's important if you're ever having problems with that. As far as if you need help, we have this little question mark button up here. So we've got an area to give feedback. So if you want to give any feedback to DS Core, this does it at a global level, but you can provide your feedback for DS Core right here, and then they will have your insight. There is a contact us area, so we've got support right here. This would be a way to kind of contact support, or we can create a message and then put down your phone number, and someone will reach back out to you for help as well. And if you wanted to do kind of self-learning, this DS support area up here and under that takes you to a new website. You go into DS Core twice, and then this gives you a plethora of information on how to do things. So maybe you wanted help on, I know I forgot how to do an order. I'm going to do it from my preferred lab, and there are a bunch of videos and user guides on how to create an order. Step by step, how do I create an order? It's right here. So in that help area. So if you ever forget or kind of have a new person that's coming in to the office, this is a great place to take them. Maybe you need help on scanning modality. We would go here and then go down to the scanning with the Prime Scan AC. Again, there's videos, kind of step by step, how do I do scanning? How do I become more successful at that? there's a ton of good resources here for you as well. Um, Trying to see if there's anything that I kind of forgot or didn't go through. I think that Bret's going to go through his part right now, so he's going to go through an area of how to kind of do for implants and such. So I'm going to stop sharing and let Bret share his screen.
Taking over. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so what Tony went through is all of the encompassing, and what we're going to do right now is simply take a patient from data entry all the way through the execution of the order in one straight flow. So my choice is I could either, as Tony showed you, I could come in and create a new patient, exactly what he said. I think the only thing is I can't remember the name of your system. You have a patient ID for all of your patients. That is what would go in here. Assuming we were going to start with a patient then, I would go and have my patient created. And then what I could do is start my DI scan. So I could be doing this without having the actual prime scan in my hand. So I hit start DI scan. It's going to register every unit that I have that's online currently in every software. So here's my laptop. And then what you're primarily going to be using when you're sending to labs is the Connect software. There are very few lab or offices that have CEREC. This is in-house manufacturing. So you're basically going to live in Connect software. You hit start, and it's going to fire up the scan, whether you're on the scanner or not. So, excuse me. Once the scan is in the patient, I select the scan that I want to send, and I'm going to place an order. What you're going to do is select your individual units that you want to do. A restoration would be simply saying, hey, I want a crown, zirconia, tooth, whatever. I'll take you through the implant planning and surgical guide and come back to the implants. So if I'm going to do implants, I continue. My preferred lab is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select which arch the implant happens to be on, and I want it to be an implant. In this case, let's do it on number 19. Select your manufacturer, whoever it happens to be. And then whatever implant system you're going to be doing. You can even detail it down into subtypes if you so are inclined. You then get the option where you can add a CBCT. So as you've been shown, if you ever need to do a scan, wherever that file lives, I'd select media. Here's my patient that I already pulled up. There's my CBCT. I add it to the file. I could also hand type in whatever relevant information I felt the lab was needed. And then right where my screen says add payment, yours would be place the order. Once it's placed, you'll find that order in your order section. I'm going to repeat the same thing, but instead of an implant, we're just going to order our custom abutment because all we're going to do is restore the implant that someone else is doing. So I hit continue. My preferred lab, select whatever tooth that we're happening to be doing. Same information goes down here, your exact type. And then right down here is your ability to add the crown to that order to your lab. Otherwise, it's exactly the same as everything else going down the line. Now, the one thing I did not show you is this. When we hit that start the DI scan, if I'm on a desktop and I walk over, what's it going to look like on the scanner itself? So when you click to launch the software, here's the screen that you're going to see and you're familiar with. The patient's name isn't here, but if you started on DS Core, all of the patient information is going to be there. If you know exactly what you're going to do, whether it's a crown or an implant on an individual tooth, feel free to go ahead and select an individual restoration, continue on. But if you're ever in doubt or you just want to get it moved on, because we'll enter the information later, always feel free to choose full arch and an impression tray. What that's going to allow you to do is bypass the entry of exactly what implant system, what size am I going to be using. So we'd click on that when we'd advance. You're then going to come up to your normal screen. If you're just scanning for a basic case, all you're going to need is the lower, the upper, and the buccal bite. But you have the ability over here on the right-hand side, there's a square that'll come up when you pick impression that lets you add a catalog. This allows you to add whatever you need for this case. So if I did that, I click on that square button, the add files button, and then here comes my list. So if I needed to copy an original tooth structure before we prepped it, you'd be picking a biocopy upper lower based on the position of the rest of the tooth in question. Or if we're doing an implant, simply which arch is the implants are on. If we have multiple implants and multiple arches, you could select both. When you click on that extra file, whatever it happens to be, you now have your fourth file basket to scan as regular. Once we advance to the model phase, the scan is back up in DS Core and we're right back to where we began in order to share to the labs. There is a nice bailout that I'd like to point out in your ordering. Hang on a second, please. If I'm going to place an order and for whatever reason in these subtypes, it just doesn't match, it doesn't quite line up, you know what you need, but you don't know which category to go to. Recently, there was this custom order that allows you to get any case of any kind out to a lab. So if I select custom order, you now can subdivide into whatever you want. You can hand type in whatever procedure you want, the tooth numbers that are involved, and then you have the ability to hand type out any instructions that you want to get it to the lab in case one of those other subcategories just doesn't line up to what you're looking for. Questions?
Does anybody have anything that we haven't covered that they have questions on?
Hearing none. I'm going to stop sharing my screen then.
Letty, is there anything else you want us to cover? Anybody? Any questions beyond what we talked about?
I think that sounds good then.
All right. Brett, there was a question in there about on the chat. Is anything hard about submitting an implant surgical guide, I imagine? Do you want to answer that, Brett?
I'm trying to figure out where's the question.
It's on the chat.
What's the timestamp on it?
325. The question is anything hard about submitting an implant surgical guide?
No, for submitting a surgical guide, it's simply about knowing what we're going to do. You know, sometimes some of the systems have key inserts, some of them have sleeves. Generally, that comes down to just what the implant manufacturer recommends, but otherwise it's straightforward. By dictating, hey, this is the implant system I want, the lab's going to know what corresponding goes to that surgical guide. It's more about some people want it on bone level, some people want tissue pressure. That's more of a personal decision, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would agree to the other comment. It's basically, you just got to get on there and use it. It is pretty straightforward, pretty kind of user friendly. So once you start doing it, it kind of walks you through the steps. And if you don't know what to do and you have any questions that are there, again, we could kind of go to that area that's up here. So if you have any questions, we have this little DS support area. And that's where you have any kind of question you can have answered is going to be in here somewhere. So if you had a question on even, there's a frequently asked questions, but just ordering in general. This is kind of how we just kind of go through that, and it's got that set there for you. So there's a getting started area here as well, how to navigate DS Core. So this is a video that I had on the sheet that was there already. But yeah, lots of resources that are available. So certainly get in there, start using it, and I think you're going to find that it definitely frees up your scanner more and gives you more capabilities than we have had on the Connect system in the past. All right, so if there's no more questions, we'll stop recording and end it here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any other ones. Look one last time in the chat. Nope. If the lab can't obtain your scan, what scan ID do you give them? I don't know what that would be. The lab's going to get their scan. I mean, can you elaborate more on that? I've not had that happen since October when we had this.
Yeah, when you send the lab script in, it's generating a file number.
Do they have DS Core? When they get it, they have the ability to view it in any way that they can. So that may be a question for DS Core support. I don't know that off the top of my head. I mean, if I go into the order place right here, and if I'm in an order that I submit, let's say I submitted this one. I guess, yeah, I don't see any file type ID unless it's the patient ID they mean with that, but unless it's this right here, this number right here, maybe.
That's your order number.
Yeah, that would probably be it right there. 1AAB, yeah, so probably right there. So it'd be in the orders area. So you just click on the order itself or your order ID, I guess. Sorry about that. There's your order ID right there. Yep. So unless that's not what they meant, it's not a file ID, it's an order ID. So that should be, yep. No problem. Well, good deal. Well, if there's nothing else, we will close this one down. And thanks again for attending. And if you have any, further help or support you need, Auggie is your rep here that they're locally. He can definitely help you out. And Letty and your team leaders are great as well. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.